In the third year of loving my own personal ice queen, I deleted our entire chat history. I took off the fountain pen she'd given me, placed it in a drawer, and canceled the tickets to the play she was starring in. I used the pen as an excuse to break up. This pen doesn't write anymore. Maybe that's a sign we should stop writing our story. I thought that would finally be the end of our dead-end relationship, until a guy from the theater group told me. I heard the untouchable star of the drama department spent all night dredging the lake. She was looking for the gift box with the pen you just tossed. Claire Davenport and I were living together. The idea sounded even crazier than the fact we've been dating for 3 years. Hates onions and pickles, but loves cilantro. Mildly allergic to mangoes, can't have too much. Prefers her water lukewarm. Ice upsets her stomach. Likes to drink a special throat coat tea before rehearsals. Chamomile with a slice of ginger, no sugar. Favorite breakfast is a grilled cheese, extra provolone, hold the tomato. These were Claire's quirks, and over the years, I'd memorized every single one. During my junior year, we got a one-bedroom apartment near campus, so I could write scripts for her more easily, and so we could, in theory, take better care of each other. It sounds romantic, but in reality, it was more like I'd found a 24/7 workstation for my job as her personal playwright. I covered our meals, rent, and utilities, and was responsible for washing and ironing all her costumes. In return, she was responsible for accepting it all without a second thought, then stepping onto the stage and shining like a star. "Claire, have some water." It was a break during rehearsal at the theater club. I twisted the cap off my thermos and walked over to the edge of the stage. Inside was the throat coat tea I'd woken up at 5:30 a.m. to brew for her. No sugar, just the way she liked it. In 3 years, I'd never once gotten her preferences wrong. Claire was looking down at her script, her long hair falling over the cool, elegant lines of her face. She didn't look up, just gave a soft, I stood there holding the thermos, feeling like a butler waiting for an order. "Here, Claire, drink this." Ethan, Claire's co-star, had appeared out of nowhere, holding a bottle of Fiji water. He expertly twisted off the cap and handed it to her. "Wouldn't want Liam's tea to hurt that golden voice of yours. That'd be a loss for the whole club." Claire finally looked up, took the water from Ethan, and took a sip. She was always like that, cool and distant, as if the only time she ever showed emotion was when she was acting. She set the bottle down and noticed my hand, still frozen in midair. "Just leave it there," she said. "I'll drink it later." I quietly placed the tea on a nearby prop box. "By the way, Claire," Ethan's voice carried over, not too loud but loud enough. "It's my birthday tonight. I rented a private room at a karaoke bar downtown. You have to come." "I can't. I have plans tonight." "Come on, do it for me. Besides, we still need to go over the details of the script. I think that last scene Liam wrote still has some problems." I didn't listen to the rest. I walked back to my corner of the room. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Claire. "Wait for me at home tonight." I looked at the message, a small smile spreading across my face, and the irritation Ethan had caused me vanished. So that was why she'd turned him down. See? She still needed me. That was enough. I typed back. "Okay, Claire Davenport and I have been dating for 3 years. No, that's not quite right. It would be more accurate to say I'd been her boyfriend for 3 years. The beginning of our story was a cliché straight out of a low-budget indie film. I was a nobody freshman in the screenwriting program, and I fell for her the moment I saw her shining on stage. So I started writing plays for her, one after another, like a sacrifice, laying all my talent and time at her feet. My friends all call me an idiot, a classic simp. Dude, you're not just a simp, you're the king of simps. But in the end, the simp got the girl. I actually succeeded. I can't believe you actually did it. You landed Claire Davenport, the goddess. Damn, man, you're really punching above your weight. But I guess if you didn't simp for her, someone else would." I usually just shrugged off their teasing with a wry smile. I don't know when it happened, but somewhere along the line, being devoted went from a sign of commitment to the mark of a simp. Sophomore year, she was drowning in admirers. Roses showed up daily. Guys would corner her outside her dorm. It was a campus-wide spectacle. She couldn't stand it, and finally, after turning down who knows how many guys, she came to me. She looked at me, her eyes as cool as ever, and asked, "Liam, you like me, right?" Her next sentence was, "Then you can be my boyfriend." I was so thrilled I could barely speak. It was only later that I realized she was just tired of the hassle and needed a shield. And I, the guy who was always available, who could write her scripts, who knew all her preferences and was hopelessly devoted to her, and most importantly, never caused her any trouble, was the perfect candidate. After 3 years, I was used to all of it. Today was actually our anniversary. I hadn't booked a restaurant. I just wanted a quiet night in with her. I bought her favorite cake from a little bakery across town and cooked a few of her favorite dishes, waiting for her to come home. 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. She never came back. My texts went unanswered. My calls went to voicemail. At 11, my phone finally lit up. It wasn't a reply from her, but a new post on her Instagram. A 9-photo carousel, location tagged at one of the most exclusive lounges in the city. In the center photo, Claire stood surrounded by a crowd of people. She was holding a glass of red wine, a faint smile on her face, with Ethan right by her side. I turned off the lights and just sat there on the cold floor of the hallway, covering my eyes with my hand. After a long moment, I felt a dampness on my palm. It felt like someone had squeezed my heart, then slowly let go, leaving behind nothing but a hollow ache. I laughed at myself. Liam, what the hell were you expecting? For her to turn down a party for you? Don't be an idiot. It's not the first time she's ditched you. I was frantically trying to talk myself down when my phone rang, the sound jarring in the silence. When I saw her name on the screen, my heart still skipped a beat. But when I answered, it wasn't her voice on the other end. It was a freshman from the theater club who sometimes helped me out. Is this Liam? I'm outside the lounge. It was Ethan's birthday tonight, and everyone got a little carried away. Claire seems pretty drunk. Could you come pick her up? My voice was hoarse as I agreed. I stood up, the motion so practiced it felt rehearsed. I pulled her coat from the closet, a fixed scene in a script I was forced to act out, no matter how much the protagonist was struggling inside. Pathetic. Truly pathetic. Claire was definitely drunk. So much so that when I helped her into the apartment, she was still clinging tightly to my hand. We're home, Claire. I went to unwind her scarf. Her cheeks were flushed. Even the tips of her ears were red. A thin layer of mist clouded her eyes as she stared straight at me. After a moment, she suddenly stood on her toes to kiss me. Her balance was off, and I stumbled backward with her, both of us falling into a heap in the slightly cluttered entryway. For her, this was probably just a casual part of being a couple, something that required no words. But for me, it was the only time I could truly feel like I was loved. In those moments when our lips met, I offered up everything I had, greedy for even the slightest response from her. She was always so stingy with her affection, but in moments like this, she would finally show me a sliver of generosity. She braced her hands on my chest, her kisses trailing down from my ear, carrying the scent of white wine. Claire, do you remember what you promised me? I pushed her away gently, straightening the collar of her shirt that I'd messed up. She frowned, her eyes hazy. She probably didn't remember. And if she didn't, she didn't. Even if I blamed her, it wouldn't matter to her. I stumbled to my feet and pulled the cake, which had been sitting in the fridge for hours, out to show her. You said yesterday that you'd spend our anniversary with me tonight, but you went to the party with Ethan and the others. Why? Why can't you just care about me? Even a little bit. The words tumbled around in my throat, but never came out. She looked down at the small cake, then reached out, took it, and set it on the table. Ethan was paying. Everyone was there. I couldn't get out of it. But you told me this afternoon to wait for you at home. So we'll celebrate now. It's not the same. How is it not the same? It's after midnight. So what if it is? She stared at me, impatience clearly written across her face. It's nothing. I sighed, resigning myself to the situation. I walked over, cut the cake, and gave her a small piece. The sweet cream melted in my mouth, but a bitterness spread from the bottom of my heart. I didn't have the guts to tell her how much I, like a damn fool, had been looking forward to this anniversary. I thought that 3 years would mean something different. But even if I said it, she wouldn't understand. I raised my hand, suddenly tapping my slice of cake against hers. Claire Davenport, do you think I'll just write scripts for you? And only you forever? She didn't answer the question. I didn't know the answer either. At least, for now, I hadn't thought about writing for anyone else. Claire was like the spotlight at center stage, dazzling but also cold. I always thought if I just got close enough, I could catch some of its warmth. But maybe one day, I wouldn't want to chase the light anymore. And when that day came, I'd pack up my things and disappear from her world completely. Then, no matter how many times she called my name, I wouldn't turn back. When I opened my eyes in the morning, Claire was already gone. But on a nightstand, there was a small metal gift box and a post-it note. We have a script workshop today. Don't be late. I opened the box. Inside was a German-made fountain pen. It took me a moment to realize it must be my anniversary gift. So, did Claire care about me or not? Probably not. If I really left, she wouldn't be too upset. She'd probably feel relieved. Most of the time, I was grateful for the thick skin I developed from watching countless cheesy dramas. Otherwise, Claire would have driven me insane with anxiety. Instead, here I was able to put on a smile and sit down next to her at the workshop. You left early. Did you eat? I propped my head on my hand, looking at her as if nothing was wrong. I ate, she replied, her tone as flat as ever. When a freshman on stage started reading from my script, Ethan suddenly slammed his copy shut with a loud smack. Hold on. He leaned back in his chair, fixing me with a critical gaze. Liam, what is this monologue supposed to be? Are you writing a high school English paper? It's flowery, pretentious nonsense. Ethan, if you're so great, you write it. Who's the screenwriter here, me or you? My good mood instantly evaporated. I glared at him. Please, your scripts are nowhere near as good as Claire's. All you do is write this pretentious garbage and follow Claire around like a puppy. I bet she's been sick of you for a long time. Right, Claire? He deliberately used her first name in front of me, trying to imply some special intimacy. But I knew there was nothing real between them. From what I knew of her, if she ever truly fell for someone, she'd dump me without a second thought. Claire's world revolved around scripts and acting. She could get lost for hours in a scene or an image in her head, forgetting to eat or drink. Honestly, I didn't expect her to defend me this time either. She usually ignored the gossip about us. But this time, she closed her script and walked over to me. She stopped right beside me, staring. Let's go. Not only was I stunned, but even Ethan's eyes went wide. Claire, the workshop isn't over. I've read the whole thing. Liam's script is actually pretty good. You can stay and listen to the rest if you want. Maybe it was because she had such a privileged upbringing, but Claire was like this with everyone. Measured, distant, never gentle. I followed her out of the room, feeling my stupid heart flutter against my ribs. I hurried to catch up to her, a sliver of hope making my voice tight. Claire, back there. Thank you. It was the first time in 3 years she had ever stood up for me. She didn't stop walking or even turn her head, just said in her usual cool tone, I wasn't doing it for you. My feet froze to the floor. She finally stopped and turned to face me. First, your script is very good. I approve of it. Second, when he dismisses your script, he's dismissing my judgment. I was just protecting my own assets. Do you understand? In that instant, it felt like a bucket of ice water had been dumped over my head, extinguishing the tiny flame that had just sparked to life. I laughed, a twisted, ugly sound. So, in your eyes, I'm just one of your assets, right? A tool that writes scripts. She seemed taken aback by the question. Her brow furrowed into that familiar look of impatience. Liam, can you please be mature about this? It was a normal script discussion. Why do you have to make it about us? I just wish, I said, pointing at my own chest, looking at her with an almost pleading expression, that when everyone else is putting me down, you would stand with me. Just once. For me, not for your script. She fell silent, her lips pressed into a tight line, as if she were wrestling with some difficult internal conflict. After a long moment, she looked away and muttered, I'm tired. I don't want to fight. With that, she turned and walked toward our apartment, never looking back. I watched her go, feeling completely drained of energy. I finally understood that the distance between us wasn't created by other people. It was her heart, a heart that it seemed I could never warm. Claire and I were in the middle of a Cold War. Or rather, she was giving me the silent treatment. We lived under the same roof, but we were like two strangers who knew each other too well. I'd cook, and she'd ignore it and order takeout. I'd talk to her, and she'd either ignore me or respond with a clip to her or, okay. The air in the apartment was freezing. I couldn't take the tension anymore, so I packed up my laptop and went to the school library. That's where I ran into Maya. Maya Chun was 2 years ahead of me in the screenwriting program. After graduating, she'd landed a job at a top production company and was already a successful project developer. Liam, is that really you? She said, a bright smile on her face as she walked over. Maya, I said, quickly standing up. Sit, don't be formal. She smiled and sat down across from me. How have you been? Still the resident genius writer for the theater club? Something like that, I said with a wry smile. I read the script for your show last year. It was fantastic, really fresh, Maya said, her praise genuine. Seriously, have you ever thought about trying to break into the industry? My company is hiring a writer's assistant right now, and I think you'd be a perfect fit. Want to interview? I was stunned. Me? You think I could? Of course. Don't sell yourself short. Maya pulled a business card from her bag and handed it to me. Here's my contact info. Come by the office next Wednesday afternoon. I'll introduce you to our creative director. Prepare your portfolio. I have a good feeling about this. She patted my shoulder, her smile bright and warm. In that moment, I felt the ice that had been frozen around my heart for so long begin to thaw. Just a little. Thank you, Maya. Don't mention it. Talent like yours shouldn't be wasted. We chatted for a while longer, mostly her telling me funny stories about the industry. I hadn't felt this relaxed in a long time, until a familiar figure appeared at the library entrance. It was Claire. She just stood there, quietly watching Maya and me. Maya saw her too and gave me a playful wink. Girlfriend's here to check up on you? I'll get going then. Don't forget to call me. Take care, Maya. After Maya left, Claire slowly walked over. Who was she? She asked, her voice cool. An alum from my program, Maya Chun, I explained. She liked my writing and recommended I interview at her company. Interview. For the first time, I saw a genuine frown on Claire's face. You're going to a production company? I'm just going to try. The script for our senior thesis production isn't finished yet. Her tone was flat, like she was stating a fact, but it carried an undeniable pressure. I'll finish it. Do you feel like I'm holding you back? She asked suddenly. I didn't answer. She turned and walked away. I watched her go, a mix of emotions churning inside me. Was she jealous? Or was she just worried her personal playwright was about to fly the coop? I started seriously preparing for the interview, spending my days in the library doing research and polishing my portfolio. I stopped cooking for her, stopped reminding her to bring a jacket. We were like two parallel lines, living in the same space but never crossing. On Tuesday night, I was up late in the living room, organizing my materials for the next day's interview. The bedroom door suddenly opened. Claire emerged, dressed in a silk nightgown. She didn't look at me, walking straight to the fridge to get a bottle of water. Just as she was about to go back to the room, she stopped. Are you really going? She asked. Yeah. What if I don't want you to go? I looked up at her. The only light in the living room was a single floor lamp, its dim glow tracing the outline of her slender figure. Why? I asked. She didn't answer, just slowly walked toward me. She stopped in front of me, looking down at the portfolio spread across my desk. You wrote all of these. Who else? She reached out, her fingertips gently tracing the cover of a script where my name was printed. Then, she suddenly leaned down, bracing her hands on the arms of my chair, trapping me between her and the desk. I could smell the faint, clean scent of her shower, mixed with a barely perceptible hint of wine. Liam, she said, looking into my eyes. Her own, usually so cold, now seemed to burn with a hidden fire. Do you think Maya is better than me? She's just an alum for my program. Is she? She leaned closer, her breath warm on my face. She appreciates you. She gives you opportunities. Isn't that much better than a girlfriend who just uses you and shuts you down? The cool moonlight fell across her face, casting her eyes in shadow. They were like deep pools of water. I couldn't see the emotion within them, nor could I ever understand the reflection of myself I saw there. A ridiculous thought crossed my mind. As long as the thread between us wasn't broken, as long as she was still a character in my story, she would ultimately be mine. The pain that thread caused me, the bitterness of the story I was writing, that was all on me. The next second, she kissed me. It was like a bite, a claim of ownership. Dominating, fierce, with a hint of punishment. My mind went blank, but my body reacted before my brain could catch up. I cupped the back of her head, deepening the kiss. All the frustration, the hurt, the resentment, and the love I had suppressed erupted in that one moment. We were like two animals, tearing at each other for warmth, tangled together in the dark living room, on the bed in the bedroom, lost in a frenzy. It wasn't until we were both breathless that she pulled away, her forehead resting against mine, her voice trembling slightly. Don't go, she said, looking at me, her words deliberate. Liam, don't you dare leave me. After that night, our relationship seemed to thaw, but at the same time, nothing had really changed. In the end, I didn't go to the interview. I sent Maya a text that just said, sorry, Maya, I don't think I'm ready. Claire seemed pleased with my decision. She started acting, for once, a little more like a girlfriend. She'd ask how the script was coming along, and she'd even stand in the kitchen doorway and chat with me while I cooked. I almost let myself believe we could finally be a normal couple. Today, the theater club held an internal vote. My script was chosen over Ethan's by a wide margin. The night before the final submission, the club called an emergency meeting. Ethan stood up, his face grim, his voice tight with suppressed anger. My script file. It won't open. I had it checked. Someone planted a virus that corrupts documents. He looked pointedly at me. It's a very specific virus. It only targets large text files, and it was planted right after the vote results came in last night. What coincidence, huh, Liam? Every head in the room swiveled to look at me. It wasn't me. Oh, not you? Then you won't mind handing over your laptop and all your flash drives for everyone to check, will you? That's slander. You're attacking my character. I couldn't help but laugh. It was so absurd. Slander? Ethan held up his hands to the group. Everyone, I just want what's fair. My hard work has been destroyed. Don't I at least have the right to find out the truth? Club members started whispering, their eyes filled with suspicion. I ignored them all. I only looked at Claire. She was the head of the club, and she was my girlfriend. Right now, all I needed was one word from her. Claire, you have to believe me, I said, looking her in the eyes, my voice trembling in a way I hadn't expected. Claire stood in the middle of the group, her brow furrowed. She glanced at me, then at the aggressive Ethan. Her eyes were filled with hesitation, a cold calculation of pros and cons. The one thing missing was what I needed most, unwavering trust. Liam, she finally said, avoiding my gaze and addressing the room. Everyone, let's calm down. We have to handle this fairly. Fairly? He's accusing me with zero proof, and you call this fair? I took a step forward, forcing her to look at me. Claire, look at me. For 3 years. Do you have any idea how many scripts I've written for you? How many nights I've stayed up? Have I ever done anything to hurt you or this club? Now he's slandering me, and you want me to prove my innocence. Her gaze flickered for a second before hardening back into that cool, rational mask. Liam, this isn't about trust. It's about procedure. Ethan has raised a concern, and it's my responsibility to clear up any doubts for everyone. This is the most responsible thing to do for you, for him, and for the whole club. I almost laughed out loud. So you're going to interrogate me like a criminal and search my personal belongings in front of everyone. If you didn't do it, what's the harm in checking? Why are you always so emotional? Can't you be rational and think about the bigger picture? Is your personal pride more important than the reputation of the entire club? I stared at her, the girl I had loved for 3 years, who now felt like a complete stranger. She looked at me without a trace of warmth, as if I were some hysterical stranger making a scene. She took a deep breath and, in an authoritative tone that couldn't be questioned, delivered the words that shattered me completely. Liam, stop making a scene. Hand over the laptop. The outcome was almost comical. The tech students found no virus on my laptop or flash drives. Instead, they found that a virus had come bundled with some sketchy software Ethan had recently downloaded on his own computer. The truth was out. Ethan's face went from white to red. I felt no sense of victory, only a profound exhaustion and sorrow. Claire walked over to me. For the first time, her voice held a hint of guilt. Liam, I'm sorry. Don't. I cut her off, my voice as still as a stagnant pond. You were being fair. I get it. I packed up my things and, under the complicated stares of everyone in the room, walked out of the rehearsal space. I thought that would be the end of it, that I'd at least get an apology from Ethan. Instead, he cornered me at the end of the hallway. Who knows? Maybe you got scared and deleted the virus in the middle of the night, then played the victim. He sneered, his tone dripping with contempt. Those words were the spark that ignited the bonfire of my suppressed rage. I threw a punch. Impulse is a dangerous thing, but I just couldn't take it anymore. In the end, we both ended up with bruises and were pulled apart by students who heard the commotion. We were sent to the campus health center. My lip was split as I was turning black. Neither of us won. For some reason, as I lay on the cold bed in the health center, a ridiculous flicker of hope sparked within me. I hoped Claire would come. And then she did. The moment she pushed the door open, my heart skipped a beat. She saw the cut on my face, and her steps faltered. For a second, I thought she would walk over to me, ask if I was okay, but she didn't. She walked right past me, straight to Ethan, who was sitting a few seats away, the man who had just assaulted me. When you feel better, come with me, she said. The proposal for the senior thesis production isn't done, and the faculty advisor is pushing for it. I didn't look at Ethan's face. I imagined it was smug, triumphant. All I felt was a dull, sharp pain in my chest, like 1,000 tiny needles pricking me all at once. The cut on my face started to throb along with it. I pressed my hand against it and told myself, Liam, just this one last time. After this, it won't hurt anymore. Claire didn't get back to the apartment until around 9 that night. Did you finish the proposal for the senior show before the deadline? I asked, looking up from the couch. My voice was as calm as if I were talking about the weather. She mumbled a yes from the entryway, took off her shoes, and walked in. She paused as she passed me. You two fought today. Does your lip still hurt? It was a detached, cursory question. I shook my head, not answering. She remained silent and walked straight into the bedroom. I suddenly felt like it was just another ordinary night. The next morning, I got a call. It was Maya. Liam, what happened? Why did you change your mind? It's nothing, Maya. Don't lie to me. The gossip from your little theater club is all over the place, she sighed. Look, the creative director here read your script, and he loves it. That internship offer is still on the table, waiting for you. Whenever you're ready, you can come to L. Thank you, Maya. After hanging up, I started packing. At the bottom of a drawer, I found a fountain pen Claire had given me. I uncapped it and drew a line on a piece of paper. The ink flowed smoothly. It wasn't broken. What was broken was us. I placed the pen back in its delicate metal box. On my way out, I saw the huge man-made lake outside our building. With all my strength, I hurled the box into the water. It made a dull thump as it sank. It felt like a farewell, 3 years too late. I booked a flight to L. For that evening. As the plane took off, the city lights blurred and receded outside my window. I took out my phone, opened my chat with Claire, and hit delete chat history. Then, I typed out one last message. The pen you gave me doesn't write anymore. Maybe that's a sign for us to stop writing our story. So Claire, let's break up. Send. Then block, delete, and power off. Goodbye, Claire. Goodbye. To 3 years of my life. Another 3 years passed. Mr. Miller, here's the final version of the script for your review. Thanks, just leave it there, I said without looking up. In 3 years, I was no longer the ghostwriter hiding in the corner, but a well-known, successful screenwriter in the industry. Maya was now my boss, and we worked together seamlessly. Oh, by the way, Mr. Miller, my assistant, Chloe, added before she left. Don't forget the first creative meeting for the new project is at 2 p.m. Is the original author coming today? I asked. Yes, I hear she's a very elegant and beautiful actress. Her name is Claire Davenport. My heart skipped a beat. 2 o'clock, in the company conference room. The door opened, and the project lead walked in with someone. Liam, I'd like you to meet the original author of this project, Ms. Claire Davenport. I looked up. 3 years hadn't changed her much. She still had that Ice Queen aura. She saw me too. The moment she recognized my face, she froze, her pupils contracting as if she'd seen a ghost. But I just looked at her calmly, as if she were a stranger. I stood up, extended my hand, my voice polite and distant. Ms. Davenport, hello. I'm Liam Miller, the head writer for this project. I've read your script. It's very good. She looked down, flustered, and placed her hand in mine for a brief shake. Her fingertips were cold and trembling slightly. Mr. Miller, hello. She used to say my full name with a hint of impatience. Now, Mr. Miller sounded so formal, so humbled. It felt like a lifetime ago. Throughout the meeting, I remained completely professional. I analyzed the strengths and weaknesses of her script with the cool objectivity of an experienced writer, listing my suggestions one by one without a trace of personal emotion. Claire sat across from me, her head bowed, scribbling furiously in a notebook. She was still wearing a white dress, her figure tall and slender, her face as beautiful as ever, her expression still maintaining that damn composure. When the meeting ended, everyone else got up to leave. She remained seated. I gathered my things and prepared to go. As I walked past her, she suddenly spoke, her voice low and trembling. Liam, can we talk? I stopped, but didn't turn around. Ms. Davenport, there's nothing for us to talk about besides work. I've been looking for you all these years. Looking for me for what? We already broke up. I never agreed to it. Her eyes were red as she stubbornly pressed on. Why did you break up with me? It was the first time in all the years I'd known her that I'd seen her eyes so red. She stood up, moved in front of me, her vision blurry, yet she fought to keep the tears from falling. When I heard you become a big-shot screenwriter, I was so happy for you. I wrote so many scripts, submitted them to your company over and over again, just so you know I was looking for you. I wanted to ask you, why back then? I looked at her, the girl who once couldn't be bothered to give me an explanation, now desperately seeking one from me. The reason doesn't matter anymore, I said, cutting her off calmly. It's all in the past. I stood to leave, but she grabbed my wrist from behind. Liam, can we? I turned to look at her. Can we not be broken up? No. Even I was surprised by how quickly I answered. I dropped the word like a stone and walked out of the conference room without a second glance. Once the script adaptation officially began, Claire and I, as head writer and original author, were forced to see each other constantly. The tension between us was so thick you could cut it with a knife, making the entire project team walk on eggshells. One evening, I was working late at the office, my head pounding from staring at the screen. Liam, drink some water. A familiar voice came from above me. I looked up to see Claire standing by my desk, holding a cup of throat coat tea, chamomile and ginger. I added a sugar cube. I remember you like things sweet. The steam blurred her face. The fact that Claire could remember my preferences was something I never would have expected. I stared at the cup, and the image of me in the rehearsal room 3 years ago, holding a thermos like a servant waiting for a favor, flashed before my eyes. How the tables had turned. Thanks, but I'm not thirsty, I said, looking away, my voice flat. You used to have stomach problems. Drinking this when you work late helps. She pushed the cup a little closer, her tone laced with a careful, pleading quality. My stomach is fine now, I said, leaning back in my chair and looking at her. Ms. Davenport, it's nice to be concerned about a colleague, but this is a bit much. We're just co-workers. Her hand froze in midair, the color draining from her face. After a long moment, she quietly placed the tea on the corner of my desk, just as I had done all those years ago. Well, remember to drink it, she said softly, then turned and walked dejectedly back to her desk. Another week passed. The project hit a wall, and I pulled several all-nighters, feeling completely drained. That morning, I walked into the office with 2 giant dark circles under my eyes. As soon as I sat down, Maya came over with a paper bag. Here, your life support. Inside was a grilled cheese from that little cafe on the south side, with extra provolone and no tomato. My favorite. Thanks, Maya, I said, taking a huge bite. Don't thank me, Maya said, nodding her head in Claire's direction. The beautiful Ms. Davenport bought it. She was waiting outside the office at 7 a.m. Drove all the way to the south side to stand in line just so you could have something hot when you got in. Liam, you're getting the royal treatment now. I stopped chewing. I turned and glanced at Claire's desk in the distance. She was pretending to read a document, but her red ears gave her away. I put down the sandwich, picked up my water bottle, and walked over to her. She seemed to tense up, holding her breath. I stopped in front of her and placed the bottle on her desk. Ms. Davenport, I said, looking at her, my tone even. Thank you for breakfast, but you don't have to do it again. I don't like grilled cheese anymore. She snapped her head up, her eyes wide with shock and hurt. But you used to. People change. I cut her off, just as she had once cut me off. Things you liked in the past, you might not like now. Please try to remember that. With that, I turned and walked back to my desk, not giving her another look. Behind me, Claire bit her lip so hard it was a wonder it didn't bleed, tears instantly welling in her eyes. I stayed late at the office that night, but couldn't write a single word. Maya walked in with 2 cups of coffee. Still thinking about her, I didn't say anything, which was an answer in itself. All right, stop torturing yourself. I'll show you something interesting. She gestured with her chin toward the director's office down the hall. Mr. Davies, the undisputed boss of our company, was being cornered at his office door by Maya, who had just shoved a container of food into his hands. Mr. Davies, your stomach must be acting up again, right? I made you some congee. Maya's smile was practically sycophantic. Mr. Davies accepted it with a blank expression. Thank you. I'll have accounting transfer you the money. Oh no, you don't have to, I insist, he said, then closed the door. I watched Maya's smile instantly collapse and couldn't help but laugh. Maya, you're simping even harder than I used to. Shut up, she shot back, rolling her eyes. I'm pursuing true love. It's completely different. To get a better feel for the story, our creative team went on a location scout to the place where the script was set, a remote small town in the mountains. Throughout the trip, Claire kept trying to find opportunities to get close to me. She tried to sit next to me at meals or be in my group during scouting, but I always managed to subtly avoid her. The local dialect in some parts of the town was thick, and the guide we hired didn't speak perfect English, making communication difficult. Just as I was frowning, trying to understand what the guide was saying, Claire walked over. She spoke a few sentences to the guide in a fluent local dialect, then turned to me and said in that familiar, cool voice, he said the suspension bridge ahead is old and can only hold 3 people at a time. I was taken aback. How do you know? My grandmother's from around here, she explained, then looked at me, a hopeful light in her eyes she probably didn't even notice. For the next few days, I could be your personal translator. It was an offer I couldn't refuse. Thank you, Ms. Davenport. You're a huge help to the whole team, I said politely, deliberately keeping a professional distance between us. The light in her eyes dimmed, but she nodded and followed a few steps behind me. Due to the difficulty of the location and unpredictable weather, Maya and I decided the team would stay in town for a while. One day, I went downstairs to get a drink and found Maya crying quietly on the balcony. I walked over and handed her a tissue. She snatched it and blew her nose loudly. Liam, I just got my heart broken. You told him? Yeah, she said, her voice thick with tears. I told him I've been in love with him for 3 years. You know what he said? What? He said, Maya, don't waste your time. My dad just married your mom last week. Technically, you have to call me your stepbrother now. Puffed. I sprayed a mouthful of water all over her face. Looking at Maya's tear-streaked, half-angry, half-amused face, I suddenly realized that maybe every story of unrequited love is, at its core, just a ridiculous comedy. With the legitimate excuse of being my translator, Claire was now following me everywhere. I couldn't shake her, so I just let her tag along. The mountain nights were cold, with a sharp drop in temperature. I was rubbing my arms to stay warm when a jacket smelling faintly of citrus was draped over my shoulders. It was Claire's. It gets cold out here. Don't catch a chill. She was looking at me, repeating the same words I had said to her countless times. I took the jacket off and handed it back to her. Thanks, I'm not cold. Just wear it, she insisted, not taking it back. Your stomach gets upset easily. You can't get cold. I told you my stomach is fine now. My tone grew colder. Ms. Davenport, please stop doing these unnecessary things. It's making me uncomfortable. I pushed the jacket back in her arms and turned to leave. I expected her to walk away, defeated, like she might have in the past. But not this time. She came up from behind, draped the jacket over me again, and then, in an almost forceful gesture, wrapped her arms around me from behind, enveloping both me and the jacket in her embrace. "Liam, I'm cold," she murmured into my back, her voice trembling in a way she probably didn't even realize. "You wear it, and just pretend you're lending me some of your warmth, okay?" My entire body went rigid. I could feel her shaking, whether from the cold or from fear. I didn't know. I used to think I had no shame, but I never thought I'd see the day when Claire Davenport had even less. In the end, I didn't push her away. On the last day of our location scout, we went to a crucial setting from the script, a cliff. I stood near the edge, looking through my camera's viewfinder, checking the light and composition. She was standing a short distance behind me. "Liam," she finally broke the silence. "I know I did a lot of things wrong in the past. Can you give me another chance?" "A chance?" I lowered the camera and turned to her, a smile on my face that didn't reach my eyes. "Claire, do you really think that just because you're being nice to me now, I should come running back, grateful and forgiving?" "That's not it." "Then what is it?" I cornered her, backing her toward the cliff's edge. "You just can't stand it. You can't stand that I was the one who ended things, and you can't adjust to not having a live-in butler taking care of you. This isn't love, Claire. It's just your possessiveness acting up." Her face went deathly pale, her lips trembling. "No, it's not like that. Enough. Stop wasting your breath." I cut her off, staring at her and speaking each word with precision. "We are over. Completely and totally over." I turned to leave. Just then, I heard the sound of loose rocks tumbling from above. "Look out!" A sharp, urgent cry came from behind me. Before I could react, a powerful force slammed into my back, shoving me forward. I stumbled and fell to the ground. Immediately after, I heard a loud rumbling sound and a chorus of screams. Shaken, I looked back to where I had been standing. A massive boulder, half the size of a person, was sliding down from above. A small landslide. A cold sweat broke out over my body. I scrambled to my feet, desperately searching for her. In pushing me out of the way, she hadn't had time to move. Another falling rock had struck her leg. She lost her balance and, with a scream, tumbled down the steep, rocky slope. "Claire!" I screamed, my vision tunneling as I sprinted toward the edge of the cliff. I dropped to my stomach, looking down the slope. In that moment, my mind went completely blank. Outside the emergency room, I leaned against the cold wall, my entire body shaking. Hours later, the doors finally opened. A doctor, looking exhausted, came out and removed his mask. I rushed forward, my voice raspy. "Doctor, how is she?" He looked at me and sighed. "She'll live. Her left tibia is fractured. She'll need to stay off it for at least 3 months. The more complicated issue is her vocal cords." He paused, his expression grave. "The patient's vocal cords suffered impact trauma, resulting in severe tearing. She has temporary aphonia. It will require a long period of therapy to recover, and whether she'll ever get her voice fully back depends on her own effort and healing process." Temporary aphonia. Mute. I didn't know if I felt relieved or if my heart had just sunk even lower. At least she wasn't completely broken. But all of this, it was to save me. I collapsed onto a bench in the hallway, burying my face in my hands as a tidal wave of guilt and pain washed over me, threatening to drown me completely. After Claire woke up, for a long time, she was unusually quiet and cooperative whenever I was by her side. I don't know if obedient is the right word. If I fed her, she ate. If I told her she needed a treatment, she'd do it. I heard the vocal therapy medication was painful, but she never made a sound in front of me. I thought this was a good sign, until I had to leave the hospital for half a day for an urgent matter at work. I had barely sat down at my desk when my phone started vibrating like crazy. It was the hospital. "Mr. Miller, can you come back?" The doctor's voice was urgent. "The patient is extremely agitated now that you're not here. She's refusing all treatment. If this continues, her throat will have a very difficult time healing." I grabbed my car keys and ran. When I got back to her room, it was chaos. Several nurses were trying to hold her down to give her an injection. And Claire, the eternally cool, proud Claire, her hospital gown was rumpled, her hair was a mess, and the 4-needle had been pulled from her hand. She was struggling like a cornered animal, clothes in disarray, her mouth opening and closing as if she were letting out silent, desperate screams. I could read her lips. She was calling my name. "Liam, Liam, what is all this noise?" I stood at the doorway. My voice wasn't loud, but she froze as if someone had hit a pause button. She slowly turned her head toward me. Then, in front of everyone, She raised a hand and clumsily smoothed her disheveled gown and hair. Even now, she was worried about her image. "I'm here," I said, watching as she stumbled, trying to get out of bed to come to me. I walked over quickly, and the moment she could reach me, she collapsed in my arms. She smelled of antiseptic and faintly of blood. "Claire, do you really think doing this is going to make me forgive you?" I stood there, stiff as a board. For years, I had told myself that one good cry, one good scream at her, and the pain would be gone. But it still hurt, like a fist squeezing my heart, a pain that radiated through my whole body. She trembled in my arms, holding onto me, her body racked with silent, choked sobs. So much for the doctor's orders. I gently patted her back, trying to soothe her. My own voice was dry. "The doctor told me everything." I paused, struggling to get the words out. "I'm sorry." She shook her head and pulled out her phone, typing a note for me to read. "It's not your fault. I was careless. The medical bills, the physical therapy, all of it. I'll cover everything," I said, looking at her, my words precise. "I'll hire the best private nurse for you." At the words private nurse, she became frantic, grabbing my hand and shaking her head violently. She typed quickly, her hands trembling. "I don't want a nurse. I don't know anyone. I'm scared. Liam, please stay with me. Please." That please was like a needle, piercing straight through my heart. I looked at her pale face, at her pleading eyes, and I couldn't bring myself to say no. I still loved her. It was a love I'd sealed away behind 3 years of ice, but now that ice was starting to crack. But I was terrified. I was afraid this was all just another act, that the moment I let my guard down, I would fall back into the same abyss. "Ms. Davenport," I said, forcing myself to pull my hand away. "I'm not a doctor. I can't help you by being here. I have a lot of work. Ignoring the pain in her leg, she struggled to sit up, tears streaming down her face. Her hands were shaking as she typed. "You think I'm a burden? Liam, are you just going to leave me?" "I'm not." "Then stay." She mouthed a silent, desperate scream. Looking at her hopeless expression, my heart broke. In the end, I surrendered. "Okay." After she had stabilized at the hospital, the doctor said she could go home to recover. I brought her back to my apartment. Since she couldn't speak, she communicated with me through the notes app on her phone. "What do you want for dinner? I can order something. Don't worry about it. I can handle it myself. I washed and ironed your shirts. They're in the closet. Thanks, but the housekeeper can do that." She would drag her injured leg around, tidying up my apartment. She had become the one who was careful, who was trying to please. And I had become the one who was cold and distant, pretending to be unaffected while my heart was breaking. "Don't go soft, Liam," I told myself over and over. "Have you forgotten the pain of the last 3 years?" One day, my friend and boss, Maya, came to visit. Well, hiding someone special, are we?" she said with a raised eyebrow when she saw Claire in a wheelchair. "Maya, don't start," I said, embarrassed. "I'm not starting anything," Maya said, walking over to Claire with a smile. "Ms. Davenport, I should thank you. If you hadn't let Liam go back then, he never would have become so successful. And don't you worry, I've taken very good care of our Liam all these years." Maya nudged me with her elbow. "Right, Liam?" Claire watched the easy way we interacted, and the light in her eyes faded. She forced a smile at me and typed on her phone. "You two catch up. I'll be in my room." She wheeled herself away. "Maya, you did that on purpose, didn't you?" I said with a sigh as her door closed. "Just helping you get a little payback. The way she treated you back in college was common knowledge," Maya said, clapping a hand on my shoulder with a grin. "Just let it go," I said, shrugging her hand off and pouring her a glass of water. "What's going on?" Maya's smile faded as she took the glass and sat on the couch. "The vibe between you two is off." I gave her the short version of what had happened. When I finished, she sighed. "Liam, I know you're still hurt, but have you ever considered that maybe she really cares about you now? Aren't you being a little cruel to her?" "Cruel?" I gave a bitter laugh. "Maya, you have no idea how scared I am. I'm scared this is all a lie, that if I turn back, I'll be standing at the edge of that same cliff again." I thought things would die down, but I had underestimated the shamelessness of some people. After graduation, Ethan had become a fairly popular online influencer. He somehow found out about Claire and me and started using our story to generate clicks and followers. A few days later, an article titled "The Rise of a Hollywood Screenwriter: How He Stole a Genius's Work and Left Her for Dead" was published on his blog and instantly went viral. In the article, he painted me as a manipulative social climber. He claimed that I had targeted Claire in college for her talent, using our relationship to steal her script ideas. He wrote that as soon as I became famous, I kicked her to the curb. He even twisted the story of the accident, implying that I had intentionally pushed Claire off the cliff. Suddenly, I was public enemy number one. Ethan's followers and a mob of angry readers flooded the comments on my Twitter. WTF, so Liam Miller is that kind of person? Poor Claire. And I love his scripts. I feel sick. So they were all stolen ideas. Get this scum out of Hollywood. He's human garbage. I hope he gets hit by a car. Why isn't he dead? He ruined a goddess and is still profiting off her pain. Boycott all of Liam Miller's work. Let's cancel him. My Twitter was overrun with hate and death threats. My personal phone number and home address were leaked. Harassing calls and food deliveries I never ordered became a 24/7 reality. I locked myself in my apartment, watching the vile comments roll in, feeling a sense of absurdity and despair. It turns out, all it takes to destroy a person is a few keystrokes and a good story. Nobody cared about the truth. Claire was even more furious about it than I was. She held her phone, her body shaking with rage, pointing at Ethan's name on the screen, her eyes burning. She typed for me to see. I have to set the record straight. I have to tell everyone the truth. It's no use, I said, exhausted. No one cares about the truth right now. I care, she mouthed at me fiercely. Just when I thought I was going to be completely consumed by the storm of public opinion, Claire did something no one expected. Against the strong advice of her doctors, she held an online press conference from her wheelchair. Since she couldn't speak, she had written everything she wanted to say on sheets of A4 paper. During the live stream, she held them up, one by one, as her publicist read the words that revealed the buried truth. At first, the live chat was filled with attacks on me. Stop playing the victim. Liam probably threatened her. Claire, blink twice if you've been kidnapped. But as her publicist read through the details of our past, the tide began to turn. For 4 years of college, I was the one who coasted on his talent, who enjoyed the spotlight he created for me, while never giving him the credit or respect he deserved. When he was misunderstood, I was the one who failed to trust him unconditionally. As for the accident, I saved him because I wanted to. It had nothing to do with him. He did not steal anything. Every one of his achievements was earned by him, one word at a time. If anyone should be condemned, it is me, not him. The chat feed paused for a moment, then erupted on an even larger scale. Wait, did I get this wrong? So Liam is the victim. OMG, Claire used to treat him like that. I suddenly feel so bad for Liam. Holy shit. So Ethan is the one who is lying and twisting everything. My bad. I'm going to go apologize to Liam right now. Apologize? Screw that. Everyone, go flood Ethan's live stream. Let's show him what a real mob looks like. At the end of the broadcast, she looked into the camera as if she could see me through the screen. Her eyes were red, but she stubbornly refused to let a single tear fall. She held up the last piece of paper. It had only 3 words on it. I am sorry. That live stream was a bombshell that completely reversed public opinion. The angry mob, now armed with a new target, abandoned my Twitter and flooded Ethan's social media and live streams. At that moment, Ethan was in the middle of a live stream selling products, completely unaware of the turn of events. His chat was instantly overwhelmed with comments calling him a liar, a scumbag, and telling him to get lost. Ethan, you lying piece of trash. Apologize to Liam. You have the nerve to be selling stuff? You ruined someone's life. Refund. Everything you sell is probably fake. Ethan stared at the screen, full of curses, his face turning pale before he abruptly ended the stream. But the internet's feeding frenzy had just begun. All of his past misdeeds were dug up, his brand deals were canceled overnight, and the influencer career he had carefully built came crashing down.